Finding an animal in trouble can truly change your life. This woman found a dying dog by the road, and months later he did something that completely shocked her. Come along with us to see this incredible story. It was pure luck that Randy had only worked a half day. Otherwise, everything might have turned out so differently. It was a nice day, and instead of hopping on the bus, she decided to walk home. But her walk would take a turn she never expected. Lying by the side of the road, Randy spotted a big ball of fluff. She loved animals, so of course she had to check it out. As she got closer, she realized it was a large dog, and he was badly hurt. His body was covered in wounds. One of his front legs was twisted completely the wrong way, and the bone was sticking right out. Some of his cuts were so deep that his insides were starting to show. For a second, she wasn't even sure if he was still alive. But then he let out a soft moan and slowly opened his big brown eyes. He was hurting badly, but he was hanging on. The dog was way too big for Randy to lift on her own and get him to a vet. She needed help fast. She called her friend, who lived nearby and had a car. While she waited, Randy gently took off her sweater and used it to try to keep the dog warm and slow down the bleeding. She knew he could easily bite her if he got scared. But something in his sad, tired eyes told her he wouldn't. He just needed someone to be there for him. Left there by the road, he wouldn't have made it much longer. Chris, her friend, showed up quickly. He brought a blanket to wrap the dog in and a big box to carry him safely. Together they lifted the dog as carefully as they could and drove straight to the vet. As soon as they walked in, the nurse took one look and ran to get the doctor. They rushed the dog into an exam room to see what could be done. Randy and Chris sat in the waiting room, not saying much. It felt like forever until the vet finally came out. The news wasn't good. They could tell the dog was a mixed breed, still just a few months old. He didn't have a microchip. If he belonged to someone, they couldn't track them down yet. The hard decision was going to be Randy's to make. The injuries were massive. Saving him would be incredibly expensive, and even then, there were no promises he would survive the surgeries. It was crushing to hear, but the vet gently advised Randy to consider letting him go. She quietly asked if she could see him first before she decided. He was still very weak, but after getting some pain medicine, he wasn't moaning as much. Then something happened that made Randy's decision clear. As she walked closer, the dog's tail gave a little wag. He knew she was the one who had helped him. She gently rubbed his head, and when her hand got close, he gave it a soft, slow lick. It felt like he was trying to comfort her. That was all it took. Randy didn't have a lot of extra money. She had just started working after finishing school and had been saving to buy her first car. But in that moment, she decided she would rather spend her savings trying to save his life. Before he went into his first surgery, the vet asked if he had a name. Randy thought for a second and decided to call him Ajax. He was going to have to be a real fighter to get through everything ahead, and she wanted him to know someone believed he could. First, the vet team needed to stabilize him and take care of his worst injuries. They set his broken leg, hoping it would heal, but they knew more surgery would likely be needed later. Right now, the leg wasn't the most urgent issue. His deep wounds needed attention first. They had to stitch up layer after layer of torn skin. It took hours, but finally, Ajax had no open wounds left. They also gave him a lot of fluids and medicine to help him recover from the blood he had lost. The next few hours were critical. If Ajax could make it through the night, there was a real chance he could survive. Leaving him at the vet that night broke Randy's heart. She didn't want him to feel like she was giving up on him, but he was sleeping soundly and getting the best care possible. She just prayed that no new problems would pop up. His hospital stay and the first surgery had already drained a lot from her savings. She worried about what would happen if the money ran out. But Chris wasn't about to let her do this alone. He started posting on different social media pages, telling people about Randy's big heart and the badly hurt dog she was trying to save. He explained everything and shared ways people could donate to Ajax's care. His posts spread quickly. They went viral, and soon people from all over started sending what they could. Knowing that a young woman would give up her savings to help a mixed-breed dog touched so many hearts. A lot of times people don't pay much attention to mixed-breed dogs, but not Randy. She just saw a life that needed her, and the more time she spent with Ajax, the more she fell for his sweet, brave heart. It inspired others, too. They wanted to help him because they could see how much he meant to her, and it turned out that their help would be needed. His care was about to get even more complicated and expensive. Ajax made it through the first night, and when Randy visited him, she was nearly in tears when he opened his eyes and looked right at her. Every time his tail thumped against the bed when he saw her, it gave her more strength to keep fighting for him. The vets had warned her that his injured leg would probably cause trouble, but somehow it started healing better than expected. After a few days, he was even putting a little weight on it. He started going for short walks, and every time Randy came to visit, he would jump up with excitement. Things were looking up, until one day they weren't. A blister on his leg just wouldn't heal. The infection spread fast, and he developed a fever. The vets were worried they might have to amputate the leg to save his life. They quickly removed the dead tissue and started him on strong antibiotics. It was a tense few days, but finally they saw signs that his skin was healing. It looked like they had caught it in time, and Ajax's leg was saved. Despite all the online posts and shares, no family ever came forward to claim Ajax. Randy was starting to hope that maybe, just maybe, she could adopt him for good. He was getting stronger every day, and it finally felt like they were in the clear. But then, out of nowhere, everything changed. One morning, when the vet went to check on him, Ajax couldn't stand up. His belly was swollen, and he whimpered in pain when they touched him. It was clear something was very wrong. The clinic called Randy right away, and she rushed over as fast as she could. By the time she got there, the vet had figured it out. Ajax's belly was full of blood. A tiny tear from his original injuries had gotten worse, and now he was in real danger. They had to operate immediately. Randy was so thankful for everyone who had donated to help. Without their kindness, she wouldn't have been able to afford this second emergency surgery. Ajax went under the knife again, and the vet found the tiny spot that had been bleeding. It was so small it was hard to believe it had almost cost him his life. This time, Ajax healed without any new problems. Randy couldn't wait to bring him home. She had already set up his space with a cozy dog bed, shiny bowls, and a pile of toys. She even had a ride lined up to bring her brave boy home. Randy wasn't the type to ask her family for help, but one of her uncles happened to see their story online, and he was really moved. He had always adored his niece and wanted to do something for her. Nobody in her family had a lot of money, but he did have an older car that barely got used anymore. He decided to give it to her. It wasn't the car she had dreamed of buying, but she was incredibly thankful. Having her own car meant freedom, and one of the first things she planned to do was drive over and pick up her dog in it. But then everything changed. The day before Ajax was supposed to come home, a couple reached out to Randy. They said they had seen her post and believed that Ajax was actually their dog. Randy was crushed. She had completely fallen in love with him by now. Letting him go would break her heart, but she kept reminding herself that if this really was his family, she had to do what was best for him. They agreed to meet at the vet's office. When Ajax was brought out, he didn't hesitate for a second. He ran straight to Randy. He barely glanced at the couple. They said it was because Ajax was mad at them for being gone while he was sick. It kind of made sense. They clipped a harness onto him and got ready to leave. But then they asked something strange. Could Randy give them any of the money that had been donated? They said they wanted it to help cover Ajax's future medical needs. That set off alarm bells. But Randy tried to stay fair. She explained that most of the money had already gone into paying for Ajax's surgeries and hospital stays. Whatever tiny bit was left, she had planned to donate to a dog shelter. The couple didn't like that. They argued that since the funds were given for Ajax, they should get to decide how to use them. While this argument was happening, Ajax kept tugging at the leash, trying to get back to Randy. She walked over and gently took the leash from them. Ajax immediately pressed himself against her, leaning into her like he belonged there. The vet and his team had been listening and were ready to step in if needed. Before handing Ajax over, Randy asked the couple to show her more pictures of him. She had dozens of photos of Ajax already, even though he hadn't officially come home with her yet. But the couple only had the one puppy picture they had sent before, and now they had nothing else to show. They had no proof at all that Ajax belonged to them, and it was clear he didn't see them as his family. There was no way Randy was going to hand him over. When she refused to give them the dog or any money, they started getting aggressive. But Randy stayed calm and told them they could call the police if they thought they had a case. At that, the couple backed off fast. They just shouted over their shoulders that they would have dumped the dog anyway, then took off. It was awful, and it had come way too close. Randy was shaken, but mostly she was grateful. Grateful that everything had come to light before Ajax could be hurt again. And now she could finally bring him home where he belonged. A little while later, Randy made sure Ajax was microchipped and officially registered to her. She wasn't going to take any chances. The dog trusted Randy with his whole heart. They quickly became an inseparable team. Ajax didn't seem to know much about living inside a house at first, but he picked it up fast. They started going on long walks together, and when her friend Chris stopped by to visit, Ajax was just as excited to see him. Life was better than Randy had ever hoped. Before Ajax, she struggled a lot with anxiety and depression. But having him around made everything feel lighter. The dog hadn't just healed, he had helped heal her too. And it turned out he was about to help her even more. A few months after bringing Ajax home, he was fully healed and acting like the happy, playful puppy he was meant to be. It was beautiful to see. One afternoon, after a terrible day at work, Randy came home to Ajax wagging his tail, ready for their usual walk. The fresh air helped her clear her head, but when they got back, she checked her phone and saw a bunch of missed calls and texts. Some were from her mom. She had tried calling over and over. Her grandfather, who Randy was very close to, had been rushed into special care at his retirement village. They thought he had suffered a stroke. The news hit her like a truck. After the horrible day she had already had, her nerves just snapped. Her heart was racing, her chest felt tight, and she couldn't catch her breath. She felt dizzy and had to sit down right there on her kitchen floor. It was a full-on panic attack, the first one she'd had since Ajax came into her life. And then Ajax did something that completely floored her. He seemed to know exactly what to do. Without hesitation, he grabbed a bottle of water that was sitting on the table and carried it over to her. Then he went into her bedroom, pulled down one of her pillows, and brought it to her too. She lay down on the pillow and tried to breathe deeply, her hands trembling. Ajax lay down next to her and gently rested his head on her chest. She listened to the steady sound of his breathing, and little by little her own breathing slowed down. It was like he was showing her how to breathe again, just by being there. Nobody had trained Ajax to do any of this. He just somehow knew how to help his favorite person. Randy was so grateful for him. Thanks to Ajax, she calmed down enough to call her mom. Her grandfather was stable, but he had asked to see her. Randy had never been more thankful to have her own car. She decided to bring Ajax along, since her grandfather loved hearing about him. She didn't have to wait around or ask anyone for a ride. She just hopped into her car and drove straight to the retirement home. When she got there, the staff welcomed her and Ajax and showed them to her grandfather's room. Thankfully, the stroke had been mild, and he was expected to recover soon. And once again, Ajax amazed her. This dog, who had gone through so much pain himself, seemed to understand when someone else was hurting. Maybe he wanted to give the same kind of love he had once needed. Nobody can say for sure what goes on inside an animal's mind, but Ajax showed real care and kindness. He climbed gently onto the bed next to Randy's grandfather and stayed there until the man drifted off to sleep. Then Ajax wandered around the room, quietly comforting the family members who were waiting. He was so sweet and calm. It melted everyone's hearts. One of the nurses, who already knew a bit about Randy and Ajax's story, came up to her with a big smile. She asked if Randy had ever thought about getting Ajax trained as a therapy dog. He definitely had the right heart for it, but it would take some time and effort. The nurse gave Randy all the information she would need to get started. Randy thought about it and decided it was worth a try. It would be a way to give back to the community that had helped save Ajax and to share the gift he had given her. They signed up for training, and Ajax worked hard. He had to learn to stay calm in loud, busy places and to feel comfortable around all kinds of people. They visited hospitals and schools during practice runs, and Ajax passed every test like a champ. It turned out he was a natural. Soon, Ajax officially became a licensed therapy dog. Randy and Ajax started visiting hospitals to cheer up patients. Later, they even went to schools to talk to kids about important topics like depression. They were a great team. The work gave Randy a deep sense of purpose, and it helped her with her own struggles too. Ajax had truly changed her life. She thought back often to that one simple choice, stopping to check out the fluffy ball on the side of the road. That moment had changed everything. Months ago, he had been dying alone. Now he was healthy, joyful, and making a difference in so many lives, all because one woman gave up her own dream to save a life, and because so many kind people came together to help. The road was full of twists and turns, but Randy and Ajax couldn't be happier with where it led them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. We'll see you again soon with even more incredible stories.